Hey everybody, I'm Charlotte McGinnis, and as always, want to thank you for taking the time to tune in and join me for my soulful conversation. This is my Sunday soulful conversation. Well, it's been a great week. I've had lots going on. Still have company. A dear friend Brenda came up from Florida, and Dr. B, as they call her. And we've had a great time touring around and just checking things out. And it's been really fun. And anyway, we yesterday had a great day, and I was inspired for today's talk based on something I saw at Nina Simone's park and birthplace in Tryon, just south of here. But I'm not going to go there right now. But we did have a terrific day. And yesterday, one of the things we had seen, which was so cool, and well, I shouldn't say we got to see it. We went to see it, and the line was just ridiculous. And it was freezing cold out. But Charlotte the Stingray, right here in Hendersonville, North Carolina, we have a phenom happening, and there is a aquarium downtown that has a stingray, which has been in a tank, which no, I don't love that part of it. Uh, but anyway, it is what it is. But this stingray, Charlotte, what a name, right? Has been in this tank, and she's pregnant. And there's no male stingrays in there. There haven't been for as long as she's been there, 8 years. And the phenomenon about it is that there's two little sharks that have lived there, and there are signs that maybe she could have somehow been impregnated by one of the sharks. Who knows? Well, that being said, it's one of two things: an immaculate conception, which is very cool, or she was impregnated by one of those little boy sharks. So the little stingrays will be born any day now, and it's right in downtown Hendersonville here. We went down, like I said, line was down the block, over an hour wait. I couldn't do it. It was too cold. But that being said, I am excited to see what comes of that. I will say you can look online and pull up Charlotte the Stingray and find out, watch the little video and all that. It's really sweet and cool and exciting. So I'll keep you posted what I hear. Well, today at 2, we have our Namaste Center Soul Family Reunion in Flat Rock. And if you're local, come on by. I'll be with Ellen at the Ingalls at the corner of Spartanburg Highway and Highland Lake Road. We'll be carpooling over at 145. So if you're local, want to join us, come on over. Love to have you. It's going to be lots of fun. Today we're going to have so we have some fun games planned, some music and dancing, and also readings available. So there you have it. So and snacks, bring a snack to share with the group if you want an appetizer, what have you. It'll be a couple hours, 2 to 4ish. Love to see you. Okay, also this week coming up, Heart to Heart. By the way, Ed Carrasquillo, my dear friend and buddy, was my guest last week. We had a really great time with our interview, Heart to Heart conversation, and he is a trip. He's a dear friend and has been for many years, and boy, he just never ceases to amaze me. So go back, check that out. It's on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel, Inspire YOUTV. Also, this week, my guest, I'm excited, is the president of our ministry, the Alliance of Divine Love. She's the top dog, as they say, and Barb Rothwell, Reverend Dr. Barb Rothwell. She's an amazing woman, and I really am looking forward to hearing what she has to say and sharing her light with everybody this week. But there's more. Anyway, Angel Squad next Saturday, first Saturday of the month. Bonnie Barnes Kelly and myself. It's a great little opportunity. Everyone's welcome. You can go on. You can get on the Zoom with us. We have a conversation. We will just do some little interaction, talk about enlightened topics, and then we'll take a journey into the heavens and just sprinkle our fairy dust all over the world. It's really lots of fun, really great. You're all invited. And last but not least, so excited, Holy Moments Book Study Group starts on March 6th. And I'm co-hosting that or co-leading that with my friend Julie Considine. We're looking forward to getting great feedback. Going to have a big group, I believe. So that's going to be on March 6th on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. for 5 weeks. Everything that I just mentioned is on our website, on my website, charlottemcginnis.com. Check it out. Okay, so I'm laughing as I read this because when people ask me what I do, I say I'm retired. And if Ellen's around, she always laughs, says, "Oh, yeah, right." And I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I'm not so retired as I thought I was. But the good thing is I'm loving life and life is good. And hey, I'm doing what I'm due, right? Just as we all are. Well, today we're going to talk about freedom's just another word, sovereignty, really living in the greatest degree of our power and love, and what that means and how we do it. So, as I said earlier, a few minutes ago, what inspired today's topic, I never know where I'm going to get the inspiration from. And sometimes it comes early in the week, sometimes it comes the day before, sometimes it doesn't come till 5 minutes before I show up here. So, but I had a little head start and an idea after yesterday's visit to Tryon, South Carolina, or North Carolina. It's just south of here, about 30 miles. It's now become quite a mecca for equestrian folks. They're coming up from Florida buying these beautiful farms. There's an equestrian center. It's really fabulous. But the town is precious. And right in the middle of downtown, there is when you drive into town, there is a mural on the side of a building, which is tremendous in size. I can't even tell you how big it is. It's tremendous. And anyway, it is of Nina Simone. She was a musician and a composer and an African-American woman who actually was born in Tryon, I believe in 1933. She is a fascinating woman. To be honest, I didn't know who she was till our friend Brenda had gotten so excited to share that she wanted to go there. And I said, heck, I'm up for anything. So let's go. And we went. There's a little park in downtown Tryon, right on the main street. Beautiful sculpture of hers and an interactive, like, what would you call it? Well, anyway, it's very beautiful. It's well done, beautiful, and well deserved. We also went to her childhood home just outside of town, which was also really sweet. It's closed up right now, but we got to peek in the windows, and it does need a little TLC, which I'm sure it's going to get, and make it even more beautiful and special. Well, what inspired today's talk is on her plaque downtown was a little quote from her, and she says, "I'll tell you what freedom means to me, and that is no fear." Well, there you go. Freedom or fear, what do you choose? And anyway, it's really a moment by moment choice, and we have been blessed with that free will. And there's Brenda. Hey, Brenda, say hi to everybody. Yeah. So there's Dr. B, an amazing woman, and well, and we've been having a blast. So
hello, everyone.
Yeah,
Namaste.
Brenda, yeah, namaste. So she's on our way to go see our dear friend Mary. And anyway, it's been great having her here, and we're just continuing the party here. So, but freedom, what is freedom? I love what she says. I'll tell you what it is to me, no fear. Well, it couldn't be more true, right? Well, Janis Joplin, remember Me and Bobby McGee, the line in that song, it said, "Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose." And that is so powerful too, because I think that, we talk about this every week, what is inner peace? How do we tap into our true nature, our highest self, that which transcends fear and attachment? Well, if we're attached to anything, right, we're afraid to lose it. And when we lose it, we feel loss. Well, again, a quote from A Course in Miracles, loss is never lost when properly perceived. So we really don't ever lose anything in truth. But freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. So I love this, letting go of the fear when we live fearlessly and we walk in faith and trust and confidence. We don't look to the external to give us meaning or power or anything, really. We know where our true power comes from. Well, I would say that the feedback I hear from so many people, the prayer ministry that we have, constantly getting requests. People are praying for all sorts of things, physical health. So they feel like they're losing their physical well-being. There's people that are challenged financially, relationships, job-wise, just the challenges of being in the world day to day, right? So we're all feeling loss of some sort. And as we've talked about over the past few years, I believe that although it's painful, it's challenging, there is an unfolding and an awakening happen. And if we can change the lens to which we're viewing all of this perceived loss and fear, and see it as a freeing up, that we're no longer chained to the attachment or the burdens of life, but we're rather just sort of flying free, like on the angel squad we're talking about, right? So, but if we continue to look to the illusion or to this dream or this world for meaning, then we're going to continue to feel lost, lonely, and afraid. So it's a fine line and a balance, because when we look into the illusion, we're never going to find it. But we are in this body, believing it's real. We have bills to pay. Our body seems to need food, sometimes medicine. We've got relationships that we deal with. So it is serving a purpose. This world does serve a purpose, and it's serving a purpose of really deepening our spiritual connection and awareness. And I think it's reflecting to us where we still could use a little tweak or healing or letting go. It's just feedback. We don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. So where are you still afraid? Where are you still attached? Where are you still judging? And the world will reflect it to you. I'm sure it already is, if you haven't figured that out. So seek, but do not find, right? Because it ain't out there. It's all an inside job. Well, there's, a lot of, spiritual sovereignty has been really a topic of spiritual freedom, right? Sovereignty is reigning over ourselves. God is the ultimate sovereign of the universe. And I would beg to say that is God is a sovereign ruler of the universe, or love is. That's what we're here to recognize, is that love is the sovereign power of the universe. So in speaking about spiritual sovereignty, it is a pivotal shift of consciousness from the lands of forgetfulness, dreams, and unconsciousness, and realizing the ever-present source within yourself. So yeah, we're just going to sort of let those dreams disappear and self-realize over my shoulder here, the king of the self-realization movement, Paramahansa Yogananda, he taught us to be self-realized. We have to detach from the illusion. The Course in Miracles teaches about this. Really, if you understand all religions and theologies and spiritual teachings, it really is about understanding that this world is not our home. The kingdom of heaven is our true nature. We are divine beings. We are created in the likeness and image of God. We are love. We are here to experience oneness. We're here to walk each other home. All of these attributes of our divine nature is what we're here to wake up to. And so spiritual sovereignty means claiming our spiritual energy and power and using them to explore your divinity and our sacred relationship with life. A spiritual sovereign is a person who decides for themselves what is right and true in all matters and realize that they and they alone are responsible for the choices that they make. So I'm going to touch base on this for a minute or two because a person who decides for themselves what is right and true in all matters and taking responsibility for those decisions, those choices. And so what we're here to do, we're so the Course of Miracles has a lesson, I am under no laws but God's. So when we live by that connection, by that inner truth, that sovereignty, we're making a commitment to live in the greatest degree of love. We're making a commitment to relinquish judgment, pointing fingers, and we're making a commitment to accept responsibility for all the choices and decisions that we have made. Every choice, every thought, every decision we have has a consequence. And and so we can't to wake up to this spiritual sovereignty, to really live from the highest degree of self-realization and non-duality. There is no blame. There is no out there, right? So out there is just what I still need to, it's a reflection of what still is calling to be healed within myself. It's very easy to get into the blame game. Well, it's the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the corporation's fault, whatever. And I find this, and I say, and I've said this before, and I say it because I'm guilty of this as well. And I say it with respect and reverence, but this pointing fingers and blame and taking sides is not part of God's plan for our awakening to sovereignty. As long as God loves us all unconditionally, totally, and just understands that we're making decisions, sometimes the decisions that are loving and healing and unifying, and some that aren't as such, and that we're all teaching and we're all learning and we're all really just one big family down here trying to figure it out. So I know that many times some of my and myself, spiritual friends and maybe not spiritual friends, get great pleasure in and in being right. Well, this is the right way, the holy way. All that matters is the decisions I make for myself, and understand that I am not responsible for the world, my responsibility. And I believe I talked about this last week. I had heard Saint Germain inspired conversation, and the fellow who was speaking this, he said, we have one purpose and one purpose only in this body, in this life, and that's just to shine our light, not to fix, judge, condemn, be afraid, none of that. Just sit and shine your light. And if we do that, we have done more than building corporations and anything else. It really has to do, or building a big church. I find that really it's all about connection and my personal healing and the choices that I make. Live and let live, right? And so we do need, again, it's a dance, it's a balance. So while we're in this world, sort of, going through the process, again, the more we have free will, and that's our sovereignty, free will to choose, right? So every moment I can choose the will of creation, the will of love, that which is all encompassing without judgment, binding, healing, loving, or I can choose to be a schmuck and judge and point fingers and think that I am right about everything. And I find the more I know, the more I learn. It's about unlearning, because it's the less I know. The more I think I know, I realize I know less than I thought I did, right? So we have been given by our Creator the freedom to choose in every moment. That's our spiritual sovereignty. That's our power. So we can choose love over fear every moment. There again, what is freedom to Nina Simone? That living without fear. How wonderful is that? Well, I will bring in a little political aspect, and I look at this. Well, I'll just share it. When the freedom they wished for most, the freedom they wished for most was freedom from responsibility, then Athens ceased to be free and was never free again. So, it's like the Course of Miracles. I am responsible for the world I see. If we sit here and say, I'm not responsible, it's your fault, it's their fault, they need to do this, they need to do that, and we're pointing fingers politically, religiously, we're always pointing fingers at each other. And when they wished for the freedom from responsibility, Athens then ceased to be free and was never free again. So be careful with that, because when we cease to take responsibility, we're just basically saying, I'm not responsible. You are. You fix it. You figure it out. And guess what? Little by little, I think that's what's happening in the collective today. Is little by little, we're just saying, I don't want to do it, you fix it. And they're like, the powers that want the controller saying, okay, goody, I'll fix it, all right, and we'll fix it. So it's leaning towards more power, more control, and less for the collective. And so it's fun to watch this from a different perspective and not to get angry about it, but like, is that really what I want? No, we have to be willing to be responsible for every thought, feeling, emotion we have, everything we do. Wayne Dyer, he says, freedom means that we're unobstructed and living our lives as we choose. Anything less is a form of slavery. So we have to take responsibility. We are, live our lives as we choose. But with that freedom, with that sovereignty, we also have to recognize we are responsible. Benjamin Franklin, without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech, which is the right of every man as far by he does it without hurt or controlling the rights of another. And this is the only check it ought to suffer and only bounds it ought to know. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freedom of speech, a terrible thing to do. And that is not our First Amendment, one of the most beautiful blessings of being in this United States of America is that we do have this beautiful gift of freedom of speech. And if we're not careful, it's kind of like, who are we giving the power to make the decision of what's okay to be freely spoken of and what's not? Who do we really trust those decision makers? Again, if we could all just this sovereignty which comes from our Creator is if we're not mindful and recognize the power and the blessing that we actually, the founding principles of this country, then I think we can lose that, and that can weaken us. So we have to really be, even if I don't agree with you or even like what you're saying, I don't have to shut you down because I don't agree with you, right? So it's freedom. We got to give each other the dignity of expressing their feelings as they need to be. And I really believe that if we really bring spirit into the mix and just bless and come with the intention and focus of blessing all of creation, we can't go wrong. And if somebody says something offensive or something that hurts another, okay, that's where the line is drawn. If it hurts another, right, then we need to bless, not curse that person. Because again, we're all one here. We're all products of our programming. We're all sort of doing the best we can, right, with what we've been taught. So instead of looking and pointing fingers, say, okay, just sit back and put that love light on, right? So to do this, that self-responsibility, that personal sovereignty, we can break these contracts that we've come in to learn. It's like those patterns we talk about, right? It's like, okay, well, that's happened for that 412th time, right? I think it's time I want to break that cycle. And and understand that we don't have to keep these contracts going. It's kind of like this karmic wheel. And be careful when you say karma's a bitch, right? Because, we can step off that wheel of karma anytime. So it's once we recognize the past is over completely and cut the cords of the past, stay present and stay in forgiveness and not bring that story into the moment, we've broken our contracts. We've stopped that karmic progression. And but boy, we feel like, oh no, not till I get my due on this. I'm not letting this go, right? Have you been there, done that? Yep, me too. Well, William Booth, the greatest of the man's power is the measure of his surrender. And I so believe that. It's like, this clinging to the illusion, it's like, oh, and the need to be right. And it's kind of like, you know what? If I just mind myself, worry about myself, and just surrender to the will and love of God and be led by that again, Saint Germain, just blast the world with love. The greatest thing we can do. We don't have to really go out and fix anything. Now, what happens is, yes, we're in the 3D world. We can't just sit under the apple tree and just blast love. Well, we can, and that's wonderful too, and powerful. But when we do surrender and just choose to decide with love, we're guided by that. And that goes back to that little mantra in the Course in Miracles. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? So when we do that, live by that premise, then our life becomes, we're here to share the light, share the love, heal the belief in separation, and bring love to everything. And the Holy Spirit, if we allow, that's our free will, our sovereignty. We can choose to be jerks and divisive, or we can choose to be beings of light. So the Holy Spirit will guide us down the path that serves ascension and awakening. So we are the sovereign rulers of our lives, and we're here to extend perfect and divine love. I love this statement. It says, our duty is found in the revealed will of God in the scriptures. Our trust must be in the sovereign will of God as he works in the ordinary circumstances of our daily lives, for good and glory, his glory, the glory of God. Well, the glory of God is all of us. It's not that God has this ego and it's like my glory. It's like his glory is us, so he will work with us in the challenges. We just have to be, and I know people say, oh, God's not a he or she. God is divine love. God is an energy. When we're created in the likeness and image of God, that is the energy of the totality of unconditional love. We're changeless, formless, and eternal beings. We're extensions of that divinity. And so when we invite that divine mind into everything, which is that spark within us, then we are living our lives for good and glorifying God, which is all of us. Now, if there's one reason, I thought this was interesting, why good people turn evil, it's because we fail to recognize God's ownership over their kingdom, their vocation, their resources, their abilities, and above all, their lives. So again, if we turn dark or evil, what's evil? Evil is, we got to turn the light on, right? So it's about turning away from divine love, and failing to recognize that I know this is a little intense, but God's ownership over the kingdom. But I feel that if we're evil or doing things that aren't so kind and loving, it's because we're turning away from love. So the Course in Miracles is a little bit different. It doesn't have 10 commandments. It does not prescribe behavior, but really says all healing is in the mind. And when we heal our minds, the projector, what we see is either through the projection of love or fear, right? And so we're here to tune into the channel of God, of love, and understand that if we turn to darkness, it's not anything we need to blame ourselves for. It's rather a recognition of like, okay, yep, I can do better. I know I can do better than that. But when we see darkness in another person, don't get on your bandwagon and point fingers, because that's just making their darkness more real. And so understand that there is a way out. I just read a little bit of an article this morning from Marianne Williamson about politics and her experience, and excuse me. And I found it so true. And she said, obviously, she ran on the Democratic ticket for president. She had wonderful views. She's a wonderful person. And I know well, anyway, she's a wonderful person. And that being said, she made a statement today, which I think we all need to be reminded. And that is exactly what I just said, that if we spent a little bit of just a small percentage of the energy focusing on what we want in this world and from our government, right? Rather than how we can beat up Trump and defeat Trump, right? And look, I'm not here to be for or against Trump or anybody. This just is a statement that she said from her political perspective, but it holds true across the board in everything and anything. And that is, quit putting your energy on that which you don't want. If all the energy of hatred and division were put towards the collective, and what would bring forth the greatest degree of love, and what focus on what we want to create, not, pointing fingers at the other, we'd be in a whole different perspective. We'd be in a whole different world. I mean, naturally things would open up. But what we resist persists. If you're focusing on all the faults of whoever, whatever, guess what? You're going to see more of that. And so, give your attention to what you want. Well, another quote: God's sovereignty does not mean he orchestrates evil, because that's our free will. Sometimes we do. And when I say evil, darkness, but you know what I'm saying. But rather, he can bring beauty and restoration out of the brokenness caused by it. And I think that God's love does not mean that he creates the darkness. We have our free will here, right? And so, but when we do step into the darkness or the fear or make maybe some loveless actions or whatever we do, know that we can be restored out of the brokenness caused by our stinking thinking, right? So we just have to say, oops, I did it again. And say, Holy Spirit, come into my heart, show me another way to be in this situation. And wow, just wait for the magic, right? So every moment we need to recognize that we're either working for our freedom, our sovereignty, or we are accepting our bondage. And our bondage is staying in duality, staying in judgment, pointing fingers at ourselves and others. Again, those who see themselves as whole make no demands. And I believe that I don't think God's definitely pointing fingers. It's kind of like he just watches us like, okay, you can choose a little differently this time, and, just blessing us on our journey. So as light workers, as those of us who want to be healed, wake up, ascend in our consciousness, we need to do that for ourselves. And for those, what's the greatest gift we can bring to the world? Well, blessing rather than cursing and pointing fingers. Focus on that which we want to create. Give that energy to that, right? So in closing, I thought this was a good a thought to take for the week. May we think of freedom as the right to do as we please, may we think of freedom not as the right to do as we please, but the opportunity to do what is right. So freedom is an opportunity. And when it says to do what is right, do what is loving. Is this the most loving thing to do? When you get caught up in judgment, irritation, whatever, pointing fingers, is this really kind and loving? Is this the energy I want to put into the world? What is this serving? So when we recognize this, that we have that power, we have that sovereignty, self-responsibility, that's what we got to recognize. I am responsible. So sovereign beings, have a wonderful week. See you Wednesday, heart to heart. We'll see you whenever. Lots of things going on. Check out my website. If there's anything you're interested in checking out, join us. Course of Miracles Fridays at 11. All are welcome for everything. Okay. Peace and love, everybody. Have a great week, and namaste.